rip it up completely. It needs completely reviewing to look at outcomes, as opposed to just forming a compliance process. Yeah. That's the real issue that's going on here right now. It's an archaic process that was built, 20 plus years ago for a very different market, a very, very different type of buying, before the internet in some ways, and yet you have all the information out there. So why do you need to go through a laborious process when you know the suppliers who you want to go and work with? Be more engaging, be more challenging to your organization. You can still be compliant, but look at that process and think about, does it make sense in terms of measurable outcome that's going to meet my business needs? A lot of the time, I think you'll find it won't.
I think that companies also, when they go through the procurement process, they really use this as Justin said, as a compliance factor, and it really delays the process. So you're missing the opportunity cost. You're not looking at how quickly we can deliver the right solution to the business to get competitive advantage and time to value. And I think that's a big mistake within the process.
RFPs are not a waste of time as a process. What's a waste of time is how they're being run. What's a waste of time is how they're being constructed and how they're being written. That's the difference. So the vast majority of RFPs that we see from a technology vendor perspective, for example, they're absolutely, going back to the previous point, very much looking at a compliance process as opposed to finding the best innovative solution. And this is the point. And G-Cloud that the government put in place since 2012 is a good example of this, because they looked at this process and said, well, it's way too long to go and do business in government. So they put together the G-Cloud in 2012 to minimize that, to go straight from here's the vendors through to, and here's my selection. So there's ways of doing this stuff much more cleverly and much more efficiently, but I would counter that I think that most RFPs are written pretty poorly, and they don't take into account innovation and new ideas. And if you don't do that, then you're going to get the answer you deserve.
It's really about understanding the business drivers and really understanding what companies want to achieve from a business perspective, and then looking at how can we deliver that in the most efficient and effective way and bring innovation into the business. So it's not about cost saving. Quite often now we're looking at marginal cost savings within the procurement process that are completely outweighed by the opportunity cost of not implementing the right solution quickly enough. And I think that's what we need to start thinking about.
I think the magic word there is innovation. So you've got to hit this innovation message as quickly and as powerfully as possible. So when procurement are going out and thinking about what's the best solution to go and meet these strategic outcomes for a business, innovation has to be at the center of that. They need to spend more time with suppliers to look at innovative solutions, because there's loads out there. There's lots of really good stuff out there. But you've got to spend time with the suppliers to understand that, understand the ecosystem that's out there, that you can harness its technology to go and drive the innovation, because when you drive the innovation, that's when you drive competitive advantage. And in today's market, you haven't got room for maneuver here. You've got to move fast. Need for speed I talked about last year, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it, right? And you've got to do that, you've got to harness the technology and the innovation that's out there effectively, and that's where you'll drive shareholder value, because you'll be able to do that transparency with sustainability, with brand protection, enhancing the brand, as well as cost efficiencies. Everybody wins, but it's a mindset change that needs to happen.
I think that's absolutely right, and I think that if you look at the RFP process, this encourages a kind of competition between the vendors and setting vendors against one another. And I think that if you're looking from a procurement perspective, you should be challenging the experts, the vendors, to work together to deliver you the best solution. Otherwise, you're missing an opportunity to add value.